With the new government getting up to speed, we thought we'd take a look at what's in store for the next couple of months and years when it comes to the energy sector for businesses and households. We'll take a look at a high level of the UK's transition in context. The UK over the last couple of decades has done a tremendous job of reducing emissions. We've reduced emissions by around half, and at that same time GDP has increased by over 80%. And when you dive down into a little bit more detail, you see that a large part of that is driven by the energy sector. This light blue line here is the energy sector's journey, and going from the first highly emitting sector within the UK economy to now the fifth. And the energy sector is now below agriculture, transport, and many other industries. And the reason why that's so important is that if we want to decarbonise the rest of the economy, providing the cheap electricity that it's going to need, you cannot do the rest of the economy without doing this light blue bit first. And the energy transition is powering that. So if you wanted to break down the energy industry into even more detail and look at the journey, it really wasn't that long ago that coal was still one of the biggest sources of power on the grid. But the last coal power station closed down in 2024 and has largely been made up by the pretty dramatic increase in renewables, pretty much offshore wind. The UK, we're pretty blessed to have the North Sea on our coast. It's one of the best places in the world to build offshore wind. It's one of the windiest places, consistently windiest places on Earth. It's pretty shallow. It's around 60 meters deep or so. It really is one of the best places, and we're fortunate to have that. So there's this growing journey for the renewable sector and the important role of gas and the role that gas is going to play. But there are going to be big challenges for the new government coming in. Like every technology, the cost of renewables, the cost of building gas, they're all going up in price. The drive for AI, the drive for supply chain parts, the conflicts that we've experienced over the last couple of years, the larger macroeconomic factors all mean that the cost for people, the cost for workforce, the cost for parts, the cost for capital are all going up. And it's very much the same for gas as it is renewables. If we're just looking at gas in particular, this is the journey that the gas price has taken over the last year. So this dates back to more or less this time, so halfway through July in 2025. You see largely steady. It's worth saying that this is still about 40% higher than the long-term average before the conflict in Ukraine started. Going into winter, it sort of takes a slight dip, and then the conflict in Iran happens, and there's a significant spike, and it's continued right up until mid-July. You can see the moments here where ceasefires have been mentioned, the price of gas starts to fall, we might be experiencing more LNG coming through the Strait of Hormuz, then there might be more attacks overnight or over subsequent days, and then that price spikes. And it's worth saying that we're midway through July now, and the price of gas is nearly at a 3-month high. But thinking about the cost for households and what the new government's going to be facing, it's not just the role of gas and the price of gas that is going to be impacting bills. There's two parts to this story. The first is the wholesale price, and that is largely driven by the price of gas that is bought and sold on the open market. The second part of the story is around what subsequent governments have decided to do in terms of putting costs on the energy bill. This chart shows the price cap over the last 10 years or so. And the darker colours, the darker orange there, you can see this is the price of gas and electricity on the open market. You can see through the conflict in Ukraine there, the significant spike, and then how it sort of peters out over the following years. The lighter orange is what we call as non-wholesale costs. So these are the costs that aren't buying gas or electricity on the open market. And these are there to pay for the essential network upgrades, they're part of renewable energy schemes, they're energy insulation for vulnerable households, all absolutely essential and absolutely needed. The UK is a little bit unique in that we have decided to fund a lot of these through the energy bill compared to other countries like Germany that have done through general taxation. And what we can see is the energy bill over the years has it been increasing? One, because of the cost of buying gas largely, but the second part is the non-wholesale costs, and these are increasing every single year, that we can see in some of the projections going out to 2030 and beyond, show the need for a real conversation about which costs sit where. And if you just look at the price cap, and I just wanted to set the scene of like where exactly we are. This is the pre-Ukraine conflict. So the energy price cap, it's not the best measure, but it's an average and it gives us a sense of what's happening for households. Energy price cap before Ukraine started around just under £1,200 for the average household. You can then see the significant spike once the conflict happened, and it's worth saying that the government stepped in here with this blue colour there. That costs the UK economy, the UK taxpayer, about £40 billion to subsidise everyone. And then come out of the conflict, and the average price cap now over the last 2 or 3 years or so is at nearly £1,800. And the most recent one, the Ofgem, the energy regulator, has changed the way that it looks at usage, so it will appear lower. But the difference between July's price cap and April's price cap, which about 60% of households are on, the price cap from the 1st of July is about 13% higher for the household that are on that. And it's having a significant impact for those that were already struggling with their energy bill. This is the picture of debt within the energy sector leading up to the conflict in Ukraine. You can see it sits around £1 billion, growing, but steadily growing. The conflict of Ukraine happens around here, 2022, and you can see that trajectory of debt and arrears for households. And this trend is continuing. We see no sign of it slowing down at all. In fact, our own analysis shows that by the end of this year, debt could sit at about £7 billion. This chart only goes up to £5 billion. These are official figures from the energy regulator Ofgem. But if you break that down into the households that are in arrears, it sits at about £2,000 for that household that's in debt. So you can just imagine this situation where your energy bill is going up in price. You might be on the price cap in July. It's just gone up by 13%. Looking into winter, it shows no real sign of dropping significantly, and you're already accumulating that debt. It's a significant problem. And compared to other major bills that may be going out of households or wherever you live, you can see rent, council tax, credit cards, relatively steady. Throw energy into the mix since 2019, it's continued to grow. These are the number of direct debit failures and the growth in direct debit failures of the energy industry. So it's a story that isn't going away and is going to continue to grow. And I wanted to, spoken about households, but this is the situation for businesses as well. And it's well known about the UK's energy costs. But I just wanted to put it into perspective. So this is a large group of some of the biggest economies in the world. This chart here shows the International Energy Agency median. So most economies around the world, this would show the sort of median energy costs. The UK is right up here, right up the end. The US would be somewhere down around here, very, very cheap energy prices. And again, it comes back to the chart that I showed right at the beginning around the political choices that the UK has had to fund large parts of the energy transition through the energy bill, and businesses are paying these costs. So if you look at the household view, the business view as well, what does this all look like at a macroeconomic view? If you're the new Chancellor that's just getting up to speed, if you're the new Prime Minister the first couple of weeks, what are you looking at? And history can tell us quite a few things here. These are figures from the ONS. This is just the impact on inflation for energy costs. So you can see fairly steady, wouldn't expect it to be anything major. Conflict in Ukraine happens, and obviously energy prices go through the roof. And then you can see the impact on the rest of the economy that this has had. So some of these other colours are council tax, various other housing costs, fuels, water. And the most important thing for energy in the way that we see it is that the energy costs or energy spikes that we have such a long tail. So you can see even around 2022, 2023, when the measure of inflation of energy prices have come down significantly, you can see the rest of the impacts that are continuing on for 2, maybe 3 years that households are paying because of this spike in energy that may have happened 2 or 3 years ago. And if you're the government, you're looking at this situation of growing debt, increasingly uncompetitive business energy costs, and thinking, what could you do? Well, there's not a huge amount of room for manoeuvre. This is the 10-year gilt that the UK government says that the UK government has, and it's nearly at a 3, maybe 4-year high over the last couple of days. So sort of in mid-July, it's reaching about 5%. And so the cost of borrowing, there's the public finance angle to it, that obviously it just becomes more and more expensive to it. But actually there's a different side to that, which is for energy and energy infrastructure. And if the long-term way out of this is to build more clean power here in the UK, the cost of borrowing is a significant input cost for the energy sector. So there are lots of hard decisions to make. The good news that we have come up with various ideas and solutions. Just last week, we joined up with the CBI and we published a report on what should the new administration be looking at when it comes to business energy costs. Lots and lots of recommendations in there, lots of costed recommendations that we think could bring about £130 billion benefit to the economy. But we're looking at everything else as well, all sorts of detail. We've got explainers and thoughts and ideas around what to do with renewables, what to do with nuclear energy, storage, households, you name it, it's on there. So I would just point everybody to our website, so Energy UK, just search for it in a search engine. And on there, you've got all sorts of the explainers, the thoughts that we think we want to see if ultimately we want cheaper bills for the country. You might also want to see what the latest conflict in Iran is having in terms of impact on the energy bill. We've got live explainers up there that are updated almost every day.